Great, awesome. I think I heard the Birmingham accent maybe once.
That's a wine, it comes out a little bit more.
Yeah, I bet. Same as my Welsh accent, you wouldn't know
Yeah.
until I go back home and watch a rugby game. Let's make a start. Okay, thanks everyone for watching this video and for tuning in today. What we're going to be doing today is talking with Rebecca Pickard from Liquid Expat, the expat mortgage specialists. I think that'll do for an intro. Rebecca, how are you? Can you give us a little bit of a background to yourself and maybe a little bit of a background to Liquid Expat and what you guys do?
Yeah, of course. So firstly, thank you for having me today. To introduce myself, my name's Rebecca and I do work for a company called Liquid Expat Mortgages. So I'm originally from Birmingham in the UK, although I try and hide my accent as much as...
Didn't know that.
And I pretty much have been in mortgages right out of university. So initially I was based out of the UK and very much focused on helping people living and working in the UK. And then about 3.5 years ago, my husband got a job opportunity here in Hong Kong. So we decided to relocate, which is when I connected with Liquid Expat. And thankfully, they wanted to set up a Hong Kong office, so it worked really well. And I relocated with them in September 2018 and helped set up the Hong Kong office. So Liquid Expat, to give a little bit of background, they've been in this space now for around 15 years. And they decided that rather than helping people living and working in the UK, because there's so many options for those people already, they were going to specialise in the expat space because there just wasn't really a huge amount of knowledge at that point in time. So we specialise in helping both expats and foreign nationals who have either already got properties in the UK and have maybe relocated like myself and want to remortgage, or for people who are looking to invest and start to build a property portfolio. So we very much have worked on building up a huge number of lenders who are able to help people in this space and who can start to build a mortgage option for people who are living overseas.
Great, awesome. I think I heard the Birmingham accent maybe once.
That's a wine, it comes out a little bit more.
Yeah, I bet. Same as my Welsh accent, you wouldn't know until I go back home and watch a rugby game. But yeah, okay, thank you very much for that. I mean, I think, I suppose what we're trying to do here, right, is just help people see. It's just sort of 15, 20 minutes, and we're going to do the sort of main FAQs that we get helping expats. And I'm sure they're the same questions you would be getting on a daily basis from expats that you're dealing with, right? So hopefully you'll see at the end of this, people that are watching, that actually it's not as difficult as they think, right? I mean, everyone thinks it's impossible to get a mortgage, and that's always the main question. Can I get a mortgage? And the answer is always yes, of course you can. It's not as difficult. I mean, maybe 15, 20 years ago, it might have been a bit more difficult, but nowadays there's so many lenders and so many people that are willing to lend, right? So it's not so much of an issue. Yeah. Okay, let's jump in. Like I say, we try and keep it short and sweet. So first question is, what size deposit do I need?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's the biggest question that I get. And that's probably the bit that differs a little bit from someone living and working in the UK. So you do need a bigger deposit when you live overseas. So typically lenders will ask for anywhere between 20 and 30% as a minimum deposit, with the bulk of lenders becoming available when you have a 25% deposit. So it is feasible. That being said, if you do have a bigger deposit, always let us know, because it could mean lower rates. If maybe you've got a 35 or 40%, it could actually get you some lower rates. Or it could open up different lenders onto the market that maybe have a more suitable product. But as a bare minimum, ideally 25% will give you access to the broadest range of lenders. Great.
Okay, thank you. And I think you touched on a few things there, you know, deposit size and whatnot. I think it is very specific to a person's an individual situation, right? It's not just one size fits all. It depends on.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So we work with over 50, coming up on 55, 56 different lenders now. Mm-hmm. So actually each individual circumstance we'll look at and make sure that we're putting the right lender and the right product as well with each client. So we'll try and work the mortgage around you as much as we possibly can.
Great. And I think that's why It is so important to work with a broker such as yourself. I mean, perhaps we can touch on fees at the end, but it's not an awful lot of money to work with a specialist, and you will get a good rate out of it. If you go to your high street lenders, they're not going to lend, right? Which I suppose maybe comes into our next question a bit. Is we've covered it off a bit, but can I get a mortgage? Another common question is, I went into NatWest, or I went into the bank over Christmas when I was at home and said, this is what I want to do. I'm now living overseas. Can I get a mortgage? And they said, no way, because you're overseas. So, so what do you say about that?
Absolutely. That is one of the most common questions that I get. And I completely understand it, to be honest, because when I worked in the UK, I was that person in your local branch.
Yeah.
Sorry, we can't help. And even when I went into broking in the UK, there just wasn't as much knowledge, I think, about people living overseas, because, there are, although it's banks and building societies that we work with, and they're all FCA regulated, they're all UK lenders, they're just maybe smaller building societies that, if you are dealing with people that live and work in the UK, you just wouldn't usually use, and so you don't know as much about. And that's where Liquid Expat are great, because we specialise in this area. We've spent the time of doing the research, building the relationships with these smaller building societies. And so we immediately know who can help, and we don't have time going to the bigger high street banks that we know will immediately say no. So it's absolutely possible, and we can do it. And the fact that we do have such a wide range of lenders means that regardless of scenario, 99.9% of the time, we'll have somebody who can help each one. And I guess just a little plug is that because we've got access to these lenders, it does mean that with a few of them, we've actually got exclusives and slightly lower rates than are available if you go to somebody else or you go to them directly. So that's just another benefit of using us.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I think it's a great thing to do. We are property experts, and we were having a conversation before we did this call on a potential mortgage for myself. So I think working with someone who is an expert in what they do is a good thing to do. So third and final question, maybe we'll go into a bit more detail after that. And as well, I know we're doing our podcast after this as well, and that's generally a bit longer, and I've got some questions lined up for you to put you on the spot there as well. But another common one we're getting is, I've already got a mortgage, but I'm paying 4.2% or I'm paying 3.5%. What can I do? Can I get a better rate?
Yeah, absolutely. So that tends to happen a lot with people who have maybe bought a property where they were living, and then they've relocated, and they've either reverted to the lender's standard variable rate, which is automatically a lot higher, or they've got consent to let, and a lot of the lenders in the UK automatically put an extra % on when you change to consent to let, which means they're paying a much higher rate than they need to. So absolutely, it's always worth having a chat with us at that point in time, because I would say 95% of the time we can absolutely get a lower rate. So the rates that we have on offer start from 2.59. So there's quite a big drop there compared to a standard variable, which can be over 4%.
Yeah.
Obviously, that does depend a little bit on, the person we're speaking to, income, the property itself. But as I say, 95% of the time, there is definitely a better rate out there if we do the remortgage.
Right, super. And I think, again, it's worth doing, isn't it? Because you can save yourself a lot of money, even at less than 1%, you still save a lot of money. So okay, that's very good. Thank you very much. Let's can we maybe quickly just go through what's the paperwork and what's the process, and then perhaps we'll wrap it up and leave it there.
Yeah, of course. So I would say the process and the paperwork is probably the bit that is a little bit more difficult when you live overseas. There's no getting around it. But again, that's where we come in. We will try and take as much of the difficulty out of that as we possibly can. We do work with these lenders day in, day out. So if we know that they're always likely to ask for an additional bit that they don't maybe ask for up front, we'll get it up front from you and try and minimise the stress and the questions throughout the process. So I would say the main documents that are required, and of course this will be different for each person, but the main ones are proof of name and address, so your passport, a utility bill, something like that. income, so pay slips, or if you're self-employed, tax returns, bank statements, and then proof of deposit. And if it's a remortgage, then that one's irrelevant because your deposit's in the property already.
Okay.
Those are the main ones that are needed. And I would say this is the bit that people, especially if you've done a mortgage in the UK already, people are a bit surprised by. They will ask for sometimes up to 6 months worth of bank statements. So it's just worth being prepared that there is probably a lot of downloading PDFs and saving them and then sending them over. It's frustrating, but it will be worth it in the end when the mortgage comes through.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that was going to be my question. How many months do you need? I mean, okay, cool. 6 months. Yeah. And that's the thing, right? I mean, it is a bit of legwork to get the documents and all that sort of stuff together. But ultimately, it's a good long-term thing to do, isn't it? To have a property that's paying itself off. So, okay, I think that's nice and short and sweet. So we'll leave it there. Guys, I would say it costs nothing to have a conversation with you guys, right? So if someone emails in and says, as we have been doing, a lot recently, if someone emails in and says, look, this is my situation, what can I do? Then we can put them in touch with you, or you'll speak to them directly and set up a time for a quick call, and then you'll have a chat with them and give them an idea of rates. Is that how it works? Yeah,
absolutely. So we won't, as you say, we don't charge anything for a conversation. If someone wants to come through and just get an idea of what the rates would look like and see if it is something they want to do, then that's all completely free of charge. Then if someone wants to actually start an application with us, we'll actually do the decision in principle. Once the decision in principle has been approved, so we've got the green light from the lender, that's when we would start to take a fee. So we charge £395 at that point in time.
Excellent.
And I would say a decision in principle takes 24 to 48 hours. It's quite quick. Then we'd get all the documents in that I just mentioned. We'd submit those to the lender. They will have questions. They always do. There's a lot of due diligence and they're just trying to make sure they've got everything they need. They will also do a valuation on the property. And then once they're satisfied with everything, they'll issue the mortgage offer. And at that point, we take our final fee, which is £600.
Great. All that goodness for less than £1,000.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I would say a mortgage offer will take probably, depending on which lender we use, which is why this is a bit of a broad range, but anywhere between 6 and 10 weeks. And then once the mortgage offer is issued, it goes to a solicitor. And if your solicitor's been a bit slow, we can be on hand to sort of provide extra chases to them and just make sure that completion takes place in a timely manner.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Okay, great. So excellent information there. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing that with everyone. More information, guys, you can find emails and stuff in the comments or the box below. I'm not sure. We can send you Rebecca's details. Where can people find you, Rebecca? I suppose that's something they say on podcasts, isn't it? Where can they find you? And then you give an Instagram handle. Where can people find out more?
Probably not. Yeah, nothing like that. You can find me on my LinkedIn. So I'm Rebecca Pickard on LinkedIn, or you can just email me, which, as Callum said, will be in the box below.
Super duper. Okay, thank you so much for your time, and we'll see you on the podcast.
Perfect. All right. Thanks.
Cheers. Thanks.